Jai Shri Krishna. Good afternoon, Rangada. My pranams to you. And good afternoon, dear students. This is the beginning of a new initiative that we've started, in which our questions, our queries regarding life, regarding spirituality, and any other queries that you have will be answered by Rangada. I met Rangada just a few years, 2 years back, 2 years back maybe. And since then, I've been regularly meeting him every time I go to Pondicherry, because there is such a calm and peace in his atmosphere that it gives me a lot. And I felt that why should I alone enjoy this calm, this peace, and the kind of answers that he gives to me for all my queries regarding life, spirituality, and other problems. Begin with a minute of silence to invoke God and invite him into this whole process, that he leads the way for us. And then we'll hand the mic over to Rangada. The first one is a question by Sarthak Mishra. Sarthak, you can pick up your hand so Rangada can see you. Yeah, we can see you. Just pick up your hand so he recognizes. This is Sarthak Mishra.
Okay.
His query is, we keep asking God for favors. Should we ask for them or not? What is the right method to ask God for something? Over to you, Rangada.
So the question is, asking God, or you can use another word, praying for God. Even the asking and the praying can be, there are so many different grades. Na? You can very humbly request, or you can demand. Okay, there are so many ways of approaching God. So normally, when you approach God, you expect that He will fulfill your demands and your desires or whatever your requests. Okay, so now, of course, you can pray to God and you can ask Him anything you want. Don't you ask your parents sometimes when you want something? So this is a super parent. He is a universal parent. So who else to ask but Him? Okay. So you should, of course, you must ask. Now the question is not whether you should ask or not. Of course, you should ask for everything. The question is, what are you going to ask for? That is more important. Nah? So you can ask for something for yourself. You can ask for something other than yourself. You can ask for somebody else. There are so many ways of asking. The question is, what are you asking for? Are you asking for something selfish, or are you asking for your self-development also? So the thing is, prayer and asking is always valid. Okay. The question is how you ask and what you ask for. Slowly, as the consciousness of man becomes more and more mature, more and more understanding, the quality of what you ask for goes on changing. Okay. First of all, you want something which is very pleasant to you. Okay. Now, there is a question of pleasant for your body, mind, life, and there is something which is unpleasant for your outer nature. Your outer nature is your body, your vital, and your mind. And this is what normally all human beings are identified with. We are not conscious of our soul, which is deep inside us. But that is the reality, and that never fades, that is immortal. But our body, our mind, and our life, or the vital, is something that is born and perishes. So normally we identify ourselves with our surface being, and we ask for things which are pleasant for the surface being. But as you go on growing, you realize that asking for pleasant things is not always desirable. Okay? You start realizing that those things which are pleasant don't necessarily help you. Okay? In the Upanishad, many of you are reading the Upanishads. I don't know if all of you are, but in one of the Upanishads, the Katha Upanishad, it says that you must be able to distinguish between prayas and shreyas. Okay, the good and the pleasant. Okay, now tell me, when there is something, a challenge that comes to you, which challenges you, but which is very unpleasant to deal with, will you take it up as a challenge or not? Okay? Sometimes when a challenge comes to man, he takes it up as a challenge. Okay? So even if it is unpleasant, if you meet the challenge and successfully negotiate the difficulty, will you not gain? You will gain. So the quality of what you are asking for goes on evolving. Until finally, in the beginning, you ask for something which is pleasant to yourself. You don't want anything else, okay? To give you very, very gross examples, you may want money, you may want good food, you may want good clothes, but these are all very pleasant things. But as you keep growing, as I said, in consciousness, you start realizing that your mind development, your artistic developments are more important than your clothes or your food. Okay, so as you keep on growing, and that growing can happen in one life, it can happen in several lives. It's a very slow process. Then, when that happens, you start realizing that finally I want my consciousness to grow. So the quality of your prayer or your request to God changes, and you want only the best, that not what you think, but what God thinks. Okay, so you leave it to God and say, I pray to you to give me what you think is the best for me. I am ignorant, I don't know so many things, and I asked for so many things earlier, which were for me, I thought which were good. But now I realize that you know much better than me what I should, what will be beneficial to me. So you leave it to God. So that's the way the prayer goes. Okay, in the beginning, it is something pleasant only for your outer nature. As I said, food, clothes, money, whatnot, success in life. It can be so many things. But as you keep growing in consciousness, the quality of your changing, the request goes on changing, until finally you realize that God knows much better than you, and He will give you what you really need. That what you really need may not correspond to what you think you need, okay? But He knows much better than you, okay? So prayer is always valid. But what you are praying for is a question that you yourself, each individual, has to make out. It happens very often that you may ask for something. Let us say, I'll give you one example only, okay? I want a lot of money, okay? But remember one thing, to everything in the physical world, there are things which are attracted, forces which are attracted, okay? And there are things which they repulse you. So when you have a lot of money, you are attracting many forces to yourself. I'm not suggesting that you should have money. I'm suggesting that when you egoistically ask for money, you may even get it, okay? The divine wants you to have experience, and He may give it to you, or your parents may give it to you. But what happens? It attracts all sorts of forces. Okay, there will be thieves who will come. There will be people who want to collect donations from you, and they'll start bothering you. So, along with what you think is pleasant, many unpleasant things also come. That's why the best thing is the ultimate prayer to God is, you give me what you think best. Okay, so this is what I have to say about prayer. Is always valid, but what you pray for is the important thing. And in the beginning, since we are all ignorant, okay, our askings also and our requests also can be ignorant, and there are consequences to that. But the consequences teach us that it is better to leave everything to Him who knows better. Don't we leave things to our parents sometimes to decide? We say they know better than us, and let them decide for us. Okay, but the ultimate decider is the divine. Okay, so this is what I have to say about the prayer. And should you ask? Of course, you should ask, but then you will go on evolving. Asking is always valid. What you ask is the question, and how you ask is the question. Okay, so are there any questions that arise from what I've said? If there are any questions or something is not clear, you can ask me, and I will try to clear the doubt.
Ranganath told about you should leave anything that you're not capable of to leave it on God. Does it mean not doing any karma? And if not, then what does it mean?
The karma is yours. Okay? The karma is yours. You don't leave karma to God. You continue to do what you are. Acha. Now tell me, you leave everything to God, but can you understand what God is saying to you? You don't. So that's why it's a gradual process. In the beginning, you don't know. So your karma continues. Okay? Until finally you realize and you have a constant connection with God. And at that time, He is telling you what to do. Okay? And therefore, you have no responsibility. The law of karma then vanishes. For you, the law of karma vanishes when you realize that God is doing everything for you. Not only He is giving you suggestions and advice, but He will also start actually doing everything through you. At that time, your law of karma is suspended. You don't suffer anything. Okay? Who is a you? Your soul, not your body, mind, life. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yes.
The karma is always yours.
And may I add just one sentence to this, Rangada?
Yeah.
That Rangada said that when you reach that state, then God works through you. How do we reach that state? By tell me, who will tell me? By aspiring for perfection. Perfection in our physical body, perfection in our emotional body, perfection in our mental body. When all these three outer become more and more and more and more perfect, then when we become perfect, then God uses us as His instrument.
That's right. That's absolutely right. So this is in the beginning, that is the reason why. Until there is also another thing. What we have just now told you is a theoretical knowledge. Okay. Does it mean that tomorrow you will be able to leave everything to God? Not so easy. You will see that your desires are still there and you are still asking for things. So it's a gradual evolution. Slowly it comes. Theoretically, you now know, but you have to actually try and put it into practice. That takes a long time. So one should never be in a hurry, okay? Because what you really feel like, it must be an experience which is absolutely real to you. You have asked for God, and you may feel that, oh, God is telling me to do this. But remember one thing, if you are identified with your body, your vital, and your mind, you are not in connection with God. Okay? And you should not fool yourself that God is telling me to do this, God is telling me to do that. Because that means actually it's your ego which is telling you, and you are justifying your action, your egoistic action, by referring to God and saying, God is going to do this for me. That it's not. You have to really feel the presence of God. That takes a long time. Okay? There is the theoretical aspect. You know in theory, but you have to grow into that. Okay? And as Anjali said, you have to slowly aspire for perfection, and perfection doesn't come overnight. Okay, in anything, whether in athletics or in music or in science, whatever, you have to make a lot of effort, and slowly, you start understanding things. So it's a slow growth. Nothing happens overnight. Okay, so you have to be very, very honest to yourself. Am I really listening to God? Is He speaking through me? The honest answer usually is no, not yet. So you have to be very honest to yourself. Your question is a good one, okay? But this is what you have to know. Theoretically, you have understood, and that's a goal. You have to achieve that. Okay?
So since you've spoken about music, dance, drama also, I will take up this one question of Krinali, after which we'll get Saransh's question.
Yes.
So Krinali of class 10 has asked, how do extracurricular activities like dance, drama, poetry, science clubs, Hindi writing, English writing, so all these, how do they aid in our spiritual development?
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting question also. But in the beginning, the question of spiritual development is not there now. You have evolved from the animal life to a human life. Now, The animal is very limited in consciousness, okay? But in the human being, you have to develop yourself first. You have to develop your consciousness. And how do you develop your consciousness and your abilities? By practice, by doing all these things. So when you practice music, you sensitize yourself. You become more sensitive. And that has a value in spiritual life. Then when you do, for instance, okay, now the Agni Path has been introduced. Nah? So what will you gain through that? You will gain the experience of courage, the possibility of facing things. Will that not add to your character? Definitely it will. Now, if you take literature, that also your sensitivity will improve. Your skills in writing will improve. If you want to be an engineer also, the more you do extracurricular activities, it will help in your development. And the more developed you are, ultimately it will help you in your spiritual life. Not in the beginning. Okay? So don't think that if you are doing music, your spiritual life will be, because spiritual life can exist without music, without literature. Remember that. Okay? But when you are more developed through music, through art, through literature, through all these your skills, then naturally you have become more developed. And the more developed you are, the spiritual life becomes nearer to you. Okay? That's the way it works. So by all means, extracurricular activities are always beneficial. But that doesn't mean to say that you have to do everything. Each human being is more developed either in the body or in the mind. And those activities which are most suitable to you, you will naturally follow. So all curricular activities may not be possible to follow in at one time. So you take those activities that are most suitable to you. If you are more intellectual or you want to be a journalist or a writer, that you will develop yourself in that way. If you are more sensitive in music or dance or singing, that will develop the vital nature. So this is what curricular activities, extracurricular activities always have the possibility of developing you. So of course you should develop yourself. There's no doubt. The more you develop yourself, the more the possibility of a spiritual experience later on comes. But development by itself does not imply spiritual.
You've posed another question which will come to you later.
Okay.
So Rangada has said that extracurricular activities will definitely lead to either a physical development or emotional and vital development or physical development.
Yes.
At the end, he said, but it is not necessary that development will lead to spirituality.
That's right.
So this is a query that will come up to you. Now should we take up Saransh's question?
Yes, we can.
Saransh, you can pose your question yourself so everybody can hear you.
I had a question that if we read Niralambha Upanishad, in one of its mantras, we'll find that Rishi says ki Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, which means ki the Brahman is the eternal truth, and this whole world is false. Mithya hai. If you know it and you burn all your desires and sankalpas, that is the real tap. He told in that in Niralambha Upanishad. And if we go to Chandogya Upanishad, there we'll hear ki Sarvam Khal Vidam Brahma, which means that everything which exists, which you see, is just the manifestation of the divine himself. So if we move on to Srimad Bhagavad Gita as well, in the 7th chapter, 19th verse, Lord himself says, Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha.
Yes.
Which means that a seeker who is experiencing divine in everything is hard to find.
Yes.
He's rare.
Yes.
So, but if we take these two philosophies, treating everything as Vasudeva or truth, and treating truth as eternal and this world as false, these two tend to be contradictory. So how can we conflate these two and move on to our spiritual journey?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So it's a very good question, but it will take a little time to go into details. Okay. So listen carefully and we will see how to solve the problem. Actually, to begin with, I can tell you that they are not opposites, but they are misunderstood as such. Okay, so the misunderstanding is what we will try to clear up. The first thing is Shankara. Okay, it is Shankara in his Viveka Chudamani. He also says, very in the second verse itself, he says, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Okay, but he also accepts, okay, that Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. Okay, which is there in the Upanishads. He accepts the truth of Upanishads. So how can you say that Shankara was a Mayavadin, that he thought that the physical world is unreal? It's a misinterpretation. The idea that Shankara was a Mayavadin and an illusionist is not right. He has been much misunderstood. He is a very complex, and Sri Aurobindo gives him very high praise. He says one of the finest minds, okay, in history. He gives him a very, very high praise. So we will look into this question. Okay, so this is what you must remember. Now, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Okay, what is meant by Satyam and what is meant by Mithya? This is the question. Now, do you think that there is an absolute Satyam and an absolute Mithya? Tell me, what do you think? That's what this quotation seems to imply. Is there an absolute Satyam and an absolute Mithya? And the two are absolutely incompatible with each other.
No, sir, they both can't be.
Okay. So I'm putting it to you that there's a gradation between the two. Okay. So there can be something which is half true and half false. Or it can also be that the way you are perceiving something is wrong because your instrumentation is wrong, okay, limited. Now, I'll tell you, your eyes are made in a particular way by God, okay? Has He given other creatures better eyesight than you? Oh yes, you see that now. Has God given better hearing power to other creatures than you? So in other words, your instrumentation, your senses are limited. Agree? So if your senses are limited, you are not seeing the whole, you are seeing only the little that is there, okay? So I'll tell you, your eyes, are you seeing infrared and ultraviolet? You are not. So you are not seeing the whole truth, right? Then what about the hearing? Okay, low decibel sounds which dogs can hear, you can't hear. And high decibel sounds which bats can hear, you can't hear. So your senses are deceiving you. Okay, so this is the first thing that you have to realize. Now, the other question is that your senses are giving you knowledge of the physical world, right? And you assume without thinking too much that what I am seeing is the right thing. You agree? We automatically assume that what I am experiencing, what I am seeing, what I am hearing is the truth. Okay? But if you look very carefully, you will see that that is not necessarily right. Okay? Now, take the rising of the sun. Okay? You are facing the east and you see that the sun is rising. Slowly. In your watch also you see, once it's on the horizon, after 5 minutes it is up there. It is rising, it is going up. Is it really going up, the sun? So your senses are giving you wrong knowledge. Agree? So now you come from another idea I'll give you, which you have to understand. Okay, there is a level of consciousness and level of knowledge. A level of consciousness. Tell me, the knowledge or the consciousness in a worm, is it equal to that of a dog or a cat? Much less. Huh? Now, what about the knowledge that a cat can have of the physical world and a human being? Which is better? So there's a gradation of consciousness and knowledge also. Okay. Is there a consciousness which is superior to that of man? Yes. The yogi is at a far higher consciousness and he can see things and understand things much better than we can. Okay. So there's a gradation of consciousness. Now I'll put another idea to you. Every time you go from one level to another level, okay, your ideas and view of the world will go on changing. Is that clear? if you are based on your senses, the truth for you is that the sun is going up. In fact, for many, many centuries in Europe, they thought that. They thought that the earth is stationary and the sun is rising. And in fact, Galileo and others had to even almost pay for their life because they were telling the truth. Okay. So there is a gradation of consciousness, a gradation of knowledge. So when you are at one level, what you are seeing is not necessarily the truth. Okay. So between absolute Satyam and absolutely Mithya, whether absolute Mithya exists or not, we will discuss afterwards. There is a gradation of consciousness. Okay. Now, depending on the instruments you are using, will be the knowledge that you will get. Right? Okay. Now, if I want to see the farthest stars in the sky, can I use my eyes as instruments? No, I will not get anything. But if I use a telescope, it will be much better. So it's a better instrument. So I have to use better instruments to get more knowledge about something. Right? Now, if I use the Hubble telescope, which is in space, I can get much more than my binoculars or my telescope. So you can improve your instruments of knowledge. Right? So, are there instruments of knowledge better than your senses? There are. Okay? They are called subtle senses. Okay? You can have sight without physical eyes. You can have hearing without physical ears. In your dreams, are you not seeing things? Are you not hearing things? But are you using your eyes and your ears? No. So there is a faculty of sight and a faculty of hearing, and also all other faculties also. There is a subtle faculties which are more powerful than your physical senses. Get it? Okay. So now, when you are using your physical senses, there is a distortion and you don't see the whole truth. Okay. Now, the question we discussed also whether reality and illusion. Okay. We said there's a gradation. Can you give me any example, or I will put it to you? Is there something which is real but yet really not real? Tell me, what about your shadow? Is your shadow real or not? Is it not it's absolutely real. You can see the shadow, okay? But it's a conditional reality. If I switch off the light, the shadow disappears. So it's a conditional reality. Under certain conditions, this seems to be real. Okay? Now, look at the sky. If it's a clear sky, you will see it as blue. But is the blue really, the sky is blue? So here's another example where your senses are giving you wrong knowledge. Okay? So, and another example I'll give you. What about the rainbow? Okay? You are seeing the rainbow is real, absolutely real there. But is it not something that is non-existent? There's no rainbow there. It's only your eyes which are seeing the refracted light and it creates a rainbow. When you go to catch the rainbow, there's no rainbow there. So, in other words, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, the Jagat is Mithya in this sense that you are not using the right instruments to see something which you are seeing imperfectly. Okay? Got it?
Saransh, is it clear?
He's hesitating.
So do you want to say that the way which we are perceiving through our imperfect senses, that is mithya?
That's right. That's right. And as you go on using better and better instruments, you are nearing to the real Satyam. Okay? So, when they say Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, you are not a worm, you are not a cat and a dog, you are not a human being, you are not a normal man. Sorry, you are a human being, all right. You are not a normal human being, you are a yogi. Your consciousness has now gone beyond the mind. You are not identified. Your soul is rising out of your body, mind, life and goes to the spiritual planes of consciousness. When you go to the spiritual planes of consciousness, you are not using your physical senses. your physical senses, you are left with your body down in the physical world. Your consciousness is up there. At that time, you see the absolute reality. Okay, that is called the Atman or the Brahman consciousness. Okay, and the Brahman consciousness is so real that in comparison with that, the physical world seems to be only shadows and only images. Okay, now, Saransh, I'm putting it to you. Suppose I take a picture of you, okay, and I place you on one side and I place the picture on one side. Okay, now, are they equally real?
No.
Are you not more real than your photograph?
Yes.
So, in other words, what happens is that the physical world is only an image of the divine, and that also a very distorted image. So, when you see the photograph, you say, oh, this is absolutely real. But when you go to the next level of consciousness, you say, now I realize that I am the reality and the photograph was false. It is not real. So, in that sense, the Jagat is mithya, in that sense.
And the person who has surpassed this situation, then how does he perceives this world?
You see it as images only. You see it as empty forms without content. It's like seeing a silhouette. It doesn't have any significance. It doesn't have any. It's just an image, nothing else. That's what you see it as. To know the real things, Saransh, you will have to experience it. You will have to experience, then you will know the real thing. Okay. So when you enter into the Brahman consciousness, then you, and okay, since you have asked the question, I'll go more into detail. When you enter into the Brahman consciousness, there are absolutely no features in it. Okay, there are no characteristics. There is no color, no form, no shape. It is what is called featureless and immutable. The divine doesn't need to change. He is unchangeable. Therefore, when you enter into the Brahman consciousness, you are experiencing a static condition of absolute peace and calm and a sense of infinity. You are not limited to your body, mind, life. And what you see outside yourself, you see as empty shells. Okay? It's like a dead body. Okay? Everything is without any purpose. They seem to be absolutely only empty shells, like silhouettes. Okay? There is no reality in them. That's what you feel. That is the thing. Okay?
And then in that state, is that the state of that Vasudeva Sarvam which is explained?
No. There I come to the next point. Okay. So
that is much higher than this.
No, I'll tell you. Okay. So you are seeing only dead forms in the physical world. But is that the reality only? If you go to another level, I told you that there is a gradation of consciousness. Na? So our normal consciousness, the physical world is real to me. Okay. I go to the higher level of consciousness, the physical world is not at all so real to me. Okay. It seems to be the dead bodies. Is that the real truth also? No. You go to another level and behind that dead body, okay, there's a divine presence lurking there. That is the Vasudeva Sarvam iti. There is a divine presence in the physical world, but hiding behind the forms, the mere forms. So there are three levels. There is a divine presence in the world, but you don't see the divine presence. It is hidden by the forms. Okay, you have a body, mind, life. You are seeing your body, mind, life. Okay, your body, your mind. But there is a soul inside you. Are you seeing that soul? No, because it is covered up. And what is covering your soul? Your body, which is a veil, your vital, which is a veil, and your mind also, which is a veil. Okay, these three veils are covering your soul. You don't see it. But if you go to another level of consciousness, you will see that the soul is a reality, and your body, mind, life, which you thought to be very real, are nothing but only veils. Thick cloth, thinner cloth, thinnest cloth. So this is the reality. So exactly in the same way, in the physical world also, all that you see, okay, your cars, your cats and dogs and human beings, everything that you see, become absolutely only images. But behind that image, if you go to another higher level of consciousness, you start seeing that there is a divine presence in everything behind. That is the sense in Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So there are three levels. At our level, the physical world is absolutely real. Okay? The spiritual level, the world is not as real as I thought it to be. It's only empty forms. You go to the third level, which Raghavanji calls the supermind. Okay? Supermind. You go even beyond the spiritual plane of consciousness, you see that the divine is there everywhere, hiding behind the forms. But now he is not hiding behind the forms anymore. You see him clearly. That is Vasudeva Sarvamiti.
But, excuse me, sir, but that divine presence, which you have said the third level,
Yes.
in that, do we just feel the presence, that formless presence, or is there any designated form or that?
You see the forms, but they are only forms. And you see the physical. The form has importance only because there is a presence behind it. The form becomes significant only because there is a presence behind it. You see the forms. At the third level, you see the forms and you see also the divine hiding behind the forms. You see everything. So, as I told you, there is a half reality. So, the forms are not absolutely unreal. They are half real. That's why in Shankara says, yes, I'll say one more and then you can ask me the question. So, Shankara says there is a timeless reality. There is a reality which is outside time and space. It doesn't need to change. It is perfect. But there is a reality in the physical world. Time reality. Okay? You are born and then you die. If you die, then you are no more. So it's a temporal reality. So temporal reality is a half reality. Okay? So now, Saransh, tell me what you were asking.
So can we say that this Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya is the second stage for going for it is a preparation for the third stage?
Okay.
It is Vasudeva Sarvam, is it so?
Okay. It is so in Sri Aurobindo's philosophy. But I'll tell you one thing. Most of the Indian schools of yoga, they end at the second level and they are very, very satisfied with that. Only moksha. Okay. The physical world is unreal and I am very happy. Why so? I'll tell you why. Because when you solve a mathematical problem, don't you get satisfaction and ananda? Okay. Suppose you have broken your record in 100 meters and from 13 seconds you have been able to do 12.8. You don't feel happy? So, when from your ignorant level, okay, you go to a place where there is knowledge, it is so unbelievably satisfying that you feel that this is the ultimate reality. Okay? You feel. So you are so satisfied. Now there is no suffering. Now there is no worry. There is no anxiety, no desire. I am absolutely free. Ah, perfect. I want to remain here forever. So this is usually the ending of spiritual life. Normally. Nobody is interested in anything else. I am fully satisfied. I am so happy with what I have got. Okay. So this is the ending of spiritual path, usually until now in India. But that's why they reject the physical world. But now the whole trend is changing. Now the physical world is not being rejected so easily because the Gita, okay, does not reject the physical world. Remember, not the Upanishads. They don't reject the physical world. It's only the Mayavadin and the Buddhists who are rejecting the physical world. But tell me, does that mean that Buddha was wrong? Not Buddha, Buddhism. Because the problem that Buddhism had was to resolve your suffering. And when you go to the second level, the spiritual planes of consciousness, you are not in your body-mind life anymore. Your body-mind life will continue to maybe suffer and enjoy and everything, but you are free, you are outside. So your body-mind life may have all the old habits, but you are free. That is the reason why usually there is no tendency to go to the third level. But if you are not satisfied, because the thought may come to you that, wait. I was seeing the physical world as real And now I am at a level where I see it's unreal. Has God been cheating me? What is this? Is God cheating me? Then you say, no, this can't be. So there must be another plane of consciousness which explains this mystery to me. Then you go to the third level. And then you see that God has not cheated you. He's taking you from one level to another level to another level to another level. Class 3, class 4, class 5, class 6, class 7, class 8, class 9. Okay. College, university, PhD. Okay.
So, sir,
Ah.
first, in the first stage, we are just attached to the false identity. So, to take us to a better situation, first we detach ourselves and then we get united with the divine. That is the third level, no?
That's right. No, the third level is not so easy. The second level itself, you detach yourself. You detach yourself even at the second level. Your consciousness and your soul comes actually out of your body, mind, life. You will feel that I am not inside. Okay. If I ask you, where is your soul? Normally you will say, somewhere here. No? You see what I mean? Okay, somewhere here you will say. Okay. But it comes out. At that time, you will feel that I am not in the body. You will feel that I am not even in the universe. I am outside the universe. That's why they use the word transcendental. You feel that you are outside the physical world.
So, in the third stage,
Ah.
even the mortality which we see the immortal aspect even in the mortality which we are seeing in the third situation.
Yes.
In the third stage.
Yes. You see the immortality which is there in the divine presence behind the mortal forms.
Is it behind the mortal forms or is it the mortal forms? In another way, as his Leela, which we say.
Okay. But the form is not immortal. It is dying. There is a presence which is going on creating. It creates things and lets it die. It creates things and lets it die. All plants, all animals, all human beings are born from matter and they go back into matter. Okay. So this is a cycle that goes on happening, and your soul also has come from God and ultimately will go back to God. There is a cyclical movement that occurs. So your question that whether the mortal itself is immortal, no. The mortal part in you is which one? Your body. That is not immortal. That disappears. But which is you? Which part in you is immortal? Your soul. You realize that it has always been and it will always be. The soul never dissolves. It's a divine part of the divine. Listen, your name is a very interesting one. That's symbolic. Saransh. Okay? The part of the essence is the meaning of your name. Which is the essence? God. He is the essence of everything, and you are a part of that. Follow?
So, just a small question.
Yes.
That, in Gita and in our Upanishads, we have often heard that Nityah Sarvagatah Sthanu, that Atma is Sarvagatah. It
Yes.
is omnipresent.
Yes.
It is omnipresent.
Yes.
So, the nature of this Atman, the
Yes.
self, is immortal.
Yes.
If it is omnipresent, then it must be immortal as well.
The soul is immortal. There's no doubt about it.
The soul is immortal, and since it is omnipresent,
Yes.
what about then why everything is mortal?
Because there's the outer aspect. Okay, he has an idea in his mind. Okay, he has the plan of a poem. Okay, that is in his mind. It doesn't have a form yet. Okay, and he puts it onto paper. Okay, now when he puts it onto a paper, okay, it has expressed itself. It is manifested. Now, the manifested thing, whatever is manifested, is created. Right? You agree with that? That which is in your mind is not created yet. It remains uncreated. It remains unmanifest. So, when it is manifested, it has taken a form. Okay? And when it takes a form, all forms are mortal. The idea in your head can remain forever. The immortal is never in the body, never in the vital, never. These are all created things. Okay? It's a soul that is immortal.
Can we say that the mortality is also an aspect of immortal for his Leela or for his joyous activity?
You can say that the mortal is an expression of the immortal. Just as you are immortal, so-called, and the photograph is mortal. The world, the forms are only photographs of you. They are images and they are very easily, they can be thrown away. Okay. Take a banknote, okay, a 100-rupee note, okay. Its value is 100 rupees. That's the essence of it. But how is it being manifested? Through a piece of paper. I can just throw that paper away, it has no value. So real value is hiding behind in the essence. So there's an essence to everything and there's a outer manifestation of that. Your soul is the essence and your body, mind, life is the outer expression. So there is a connection usually. That is the reason why every form in the physical world, okay, every form in the physical world has some connection with its source. Even forms have got meanings and purpose. It's not haphazard, okay? Forms also have meanings. The form, in a certain sense, represents the essence. It becomes quite complicated, but the more you think about it, the more you will begin to understand what is being said. First of all these ideas are so strange, okay? And while we are talking, okay, you will understand. Okay, you begin to understand what I'm saying. You go home, all these are only ideas, they vanish from the mind. And tomorrow the same question will come up in your mind. So the more you think about them, okay, the more it becomes real. But it's a very interesting question, and I hope to a certain extent at least, they have been able to explain what it means. No? So remember 3 levels. Level 1, you are seeing the physical world and it's absolutely real to you. There's no doubt about it. That cat and a dog is real. I can pick up a stone and throw it at something, it will have a physical effect. It is real. Okay. But I go to the second level of consciousness, spiritual level, and that is consciousness which is infinite, eternal, immutable, and featureless. No form, no color, no shape, nothing. But it's one thing is absolutely real. And that is so real without form. And one day when we get a chance, we'll explain why it has to be without features. Okay, that we will explain. But everything in the physical world has got form, color, shape, size, weight. Features, it has got features. So everything that has got features is destructible. So it is transient. It is not absolutely real. It is real in time and space, but not eternally real in time and space.
So in the third situation, are we the witness of that divinity around us?
Okay, it's an interesting question. You are essentially the divine. Agree? Your soul is divine. Now, if you reach the third level, which part of you is reaching the third level? Is your body? No. Is it your vital? Is it your life? No. Is it your mind? No. So it's your soul. And the soul is the divine. And just now you said that it is infinite, eternal, it is omnipresent. So you become the divine.
Okay, so this duality is still the second situation.
That's right.
That witness, that drashta and drishya, the observer and the thing which is being observed, this is still the second situation.
Absolutely.
And in the third situation, that is the
become one.
Oneness. That is the real Advait.
The seer and the seen become one. Subject and object become one. Because ultimately, if you think of it, okay, before creation, God is only existing. He is the only one that exists before creation. So when he creates, okay, he has separated himself. You become subject and object. But ultimately, when you rise in consciousness, you become one. There's nothing else. Even if the world exists, it's within you. Okay?
That's what even Adi Shankaracharya also says in Nirvana Shatakam, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham Shivo.
Yes, that's right.
That is the divine oneness.
That's right. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani
Naninaham nachavyo.
I'm not all these things. What am I? Chidananda Rupa
Shivoham Shivo.
Okay. This is the Hindu Dharma, is the only one that says that. Nobody else dares to say that you are divine in essence. Okay. Nobody has it. And nobody can say that everything in Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahman, okay, even a dog and a cat and a murderer is also divine in an expressed condition. Because there is an expression in that, okay? He is infinite, he makes himself finite. But that's the thing which we'll discuss later on. Advaita philosophy says, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahman. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. So, this idea that bad is undivine is a moral idea which is present only in level 1. When you go to level 2, morality disappears. Okay, that's another thing. One day we'll discuss that. Okay, now it is. So, as it is a very interesting question, and I hope.
So, in the next time, could you please elaborate on the third stage again?
Okay.
Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma or Vasudeva Sarvamiti.
We have got 3 minutes.
I know perfectly I would not be able to understand it because I'm understanding from my mind.
Yes.
A thing which is itself limited.
But
I want to know a thing which is an aspect which is unlimited from limited.
Okay.
Impossible, but I want to have some clarity.
As I told you, these things are not very easy to understand at the first time. But while we are discussing, yes, it seems to make sense. Okay. Then slowly, the more you think about it, when you go back home, you say, oh, he said this, but this problem is still there. Like that, it will go on evolving slowly. And the more you think about it, the more it will become clear. All right. So, Saransh was asking about level 3. Okay. Now, level 3 is a level where, in Sri Aurobindo's view, okay, this is the supermind. And what is the supermind? There were all the contradictions of the physical world, all the contradictions of the spiritual world, all are resolved. You come to know everything that needs to be known, and there are no problems left in the supermind. That's a third level. But it is something that has not happened as yet. Many rishis have experienced the supermind, but nobody has been able to stabilize their consciousness in the supermind. That has not happened. I will deliberate on that next time, because today I think we are out of time, but nobody has been able to. But that is the work that Sri Aurobindo was doing, bringing down the supermind and taking the evolution to the next step. Okay, we know very well that Sri Rama, he established the moral code. Okay, the mentality he established on earth. Evolution came from one level to the moral level. Then, when Sri Krishna was the avatar, he established the spiritual plane of consciousness. The man could now evolve up to the spiritual plane of consciousness. Now, when the supermind has already descended and is there, now man can become a superman. He need not remain man anymore. Okay, and the superman will even have a body which will not be gross like ours. Okay, these ideas are so fantastic that you feel that impossible, it cannot be, but it will be one day. You will see. Okay, so that's the next step of evolution, the third level. All right.
Beautiful.
Thank you
so much, Saran. Thank you for your question, and thank you so much, Rangada, for the beautiful, detailed answer.
Well, I hope it made sense.
Made full sense. And Rangada, if you can, whenever next, if like you've explained the stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, in stage 2, Adi Shankara in his consciousness could see only the static. he could not see the dynamic aspect of God. The growth, that people grow, the plants grow, growth, there is movement, there's dynamism. What Adi Shankara could experience was the staticity of Brahman, but not the dynamicity of Brahman.
No, but if he did not accept that, how will he say Sarvamiti Brahman? What is that? Sarvavidam Brahman. How would he say that? He did understand that. But, okay, since you have asked a very interesting question, okay, Buddhism says the physical world is unreal. Shankara says the physical world is not unreal, but it is real only in time and space. There is a reality which is outside time and space, which is permanent reality. That is superior to the reality in time and space. But then Sri Aurobindo says, why didn't he go to the next level, the third level, and say that even in the first level of the temporal unreality, the divine presence is there. Why didn't you go to the third level? Okay, that's what Sri Aurobindo is doing now. Okay, so this is the thing. So Shankara is, he does not say the physical world is unreal, but he admits the imperfection, the outer imperfection of the physical world. And so if you want God, you have to go to the second level. You can't get the full divine possibility in the first level. The Gita and Sri Aurobindo both say that no, even in the world, even in level 1, you can experience the divine. So that is what the Gita says, but the Gita does not go to the evolutionary aspects of the third level. But the Gita does speak of the third level when it says Purushottama. Okay. There is a Kshara Purusha at the lower level, there is the Akshara Purusha at the second level, and there is a Purushottama, Uttama Purusha at the higher level. So the Gita does mention that, but the Gita does not speak about perfection and does not speak about a new manifestation, a new evolution. The Gita does not speak. So I'm going to say that maybe it will not take time, that's why.
Thank you, Rangada. Thank you for all your time.
Have a nice day, everybody.